In the first scene, a girl named Tess comes to a house in Brightmoor, Detroit in her car. She has rented the house on Airbnb to stay for the night. Because she has a job interview the next day. It's raining heavily outside. She goes to the house and checks the key in the lockbox. But the key is not there. She calls the support, but they don't answer her call and the call goes to a voicemail. Being helpless, she returns to her car. Then Tess sees a light turning on in the house. She thinks someone is in the house. She rings the doorbell and a man named Keith opens the door. Tess tells him that she has booked the house a month ago on Airbnb. So she should be inside. But Keith says that he also booked the house on HomeAway. Tess doesn't understand how it is possible. Then Keith told her to come inside to make a solution. Tess is a little bit nervous but she goes inside. Then she asks Keith to show his reservation confirmation. Keith says he's not a crazy and weirdo but he can show the confirmation if she wants to see it. Keith shows her the confirmation. Then he sees the number on HomeAway but he finds out that it is the same number that Tess just called. Tess says she will go and find some other hotels but Keith says that she can stay there for the night. Because that place is very unsafe for a woman outside alone at night. Tess is a little worried but she has no option to stay. So she stays there and looks at some hotels online. But she finds that no rooms are available to stay on that night. Then Keith says that there is a medical convention in the town so maybe all the hotels are booked. Keith suggests she can sleep in the bedroom and he can sleep on the couch for the night. Tomorrow they will call them and ask for a refund. So that would be a free stay for both of them. Tess refuses at first and finally agrees. She says she needs clean sheets. Keith takes care of her request. In the room, Tess finds Keith's purse. She takes a photo of his driving license. Keith then shows her a wine button with a ribbon on it and says it looks like a housewarming gift and somebody left it out there. He asks if she wants to drink. Tess says no but she can sit with him. Keith asks why she is here. She says she has a job interview for a research position about Detroit music for a documentary film. Then Keith shows some of his interest in film. He also says that he is one of the founders of Lion Tamers. It's a kind of well-known music group in Detroit. Tess seems interested in Keith. She opens up a little bit and we get to know that she is in a toxic relationship. Keith suggests that she could leave her toxic boyfriend and give a chance to others. In the night, when Tess is sleeping, she hears a voice. She wakes up and sees that the door of the room is open. She sees Keith sleeping on the couch making some noises. He may be in his dream. Then we see the back door in the corridor has been closed. But Tess doesn't notice. Tess wakes up Keith and tells the matter. She asks if Keith opens the door in her room. Keith says no. Tess gets confused and goes to sleep again. In the morning, Tess gets ready to go to her interview. She doesn't see Keith and finds a note from him. He says he has to leave early, so Tess will put the key in the lockbox when she leaves for the interview. Coming outside, Tess sees that all the neighborhood properties were destroyed and the house that they stay in is the only house that is in good condition. Tess gets confused. On her way, she sees the same destruction throughout the neighborhood. It seems like no one has lived in this place for years and something bad happened in this place. We'll know about this later. She gets to the office and waits for their meeting. She sees Keith's photo and seems like she starts to like him. After her meeting, the woman that Tess will work with asks where she is staying. Tess says she's in an Airbnb in Brightmoor. Then the woman becomes a little worried saying that Tess shouldn't be there and tells Tess to be careful. Tess returns to the house. Then a man runs to her and yells at her. Tess gets so afraid and runs to the house. She gets the key, goes inside, and shuts the door. The man tells her from outside to come out of that house. She calls to support number for help. But she doesn't get any help from them. She's walking around the house thinking what to do. Then she opens the basement door and goes down to take a toilet paper roll. When she comes upstairs, the door locks automatically. She tries to open the door but she fails. Then she remembers her phone is in the room and the key to the house is in her pocket. She searches for something to get out of there. Then she sees a rope through a hole in the wall. She pulls the rope and soon a secret passageway opens. Inside is pure darkness and she decides not to go there. Then she gets an idea. She takes a mirror, places it under the light and points in the direction of the secret passageway so that she can see with the help of light reflection from the mirror. She sees a hidden room inside. She goes inside and opens the door of that hidden room and turns on the light. She sees an old camera, a bucket, and a stained bed are there. It seems like a dungeon. She sees some bloody handprints on the walls as well. She gets so afraid and gets out of the room and comes to the basement. Then she hears door knocks on the main door. She sees from the basement window and it is Keith. She screams and knocks on the window. Luckily Keith sees and opens the basement window and gets the key from her. Then he takes her from the basement. Tess explains everything to Keith. Keith doesn't take her words seriously and says that doesn't sound weird because that's a basement and all the junks are there. So he wants to go down and see. Then Tess stops him from going there and she wants to leave, but Keith insists on asking if she can wait upstairs in case he gets locked in the basement. Because Keith is going to the basement to check. Then Tess agrees and Keith goes to the basement. After some time passes, Tess calls Keith to come up. But Keith doesn't reply. Tess gets worried and goes to check. Tess goes to that hidden room but doesn't see Keith there. Then she sees another secret door beside the room. She opens the door and what she sees is very shocking. It's a small underground tunnel. The tunnel has stairs leading to go down and it's very dark inside. Tess turns on the flash of her phone and calls Keith. After some time, Tess hears Keith's voice at a distance in the tunnel screaming for help. Tess gets so scared and doesn't understand what to do. Finally, she decides to save Keith and goes down to the tunnel. After some downstairs, she finds a gate. Keith is still screaming for help. Inside the tunnel, she finds some cages. Then suddenly, Keith appears in front of her injured and says to her that someone lives there and bit him. Tess says they need to get out of there. Then suddenly a deformed naked woman runs to them screaming. She crushes Keith's head to the walls multiple times. Keith dies. Then the scene changes and we see a man named A.J. Gilbride, driving a car. He is a TV actor and the owner of the house where Tess and Keith stayed. He gets a call from his managers that he's been accused of raping his co-star during a shoot. They want to investigate the matter. So AJ could be fired from the TV show and the Hollywood Reporter will publish his allegations the next day. AJ gets so shocked. He goes to his accountant and asks how much money he will be left after filing 2 cases against his allegations. Then his accountant says that after the legal expenses, he will be broke in the next 3 months. He says AJ is getting some rental income from his Detroit house but not enough. So the accountant advises AJ to sell the house. AJ goes to Detroit to inspect the house before selling. He sees the Tess's car outside. He goes inside the house. He sees Tess and Keith's belongings. Also, he sees that the basement door is open. So he suspects that someone is living in the house. AJ calls the property management and asks if someone is living in his home. Then they say that they haven't rented the house in a couple of weeks. The next morning, AJ opens Keith's suitcase but he doesn't find anything but some clothes. Then he goes to the bedroom and finds Tess's laptop in her bag. He is unable to open it due to the password but he sees the name Tess on the screen. AJ then thinks that Tess is hiding in the basement. So he decides to go to the basement to check. He takes a knife and a torch with him and goes to the basement. He finds out that no one is there. Then he sees the mirror that Tess set up. He looks back and sees the secret passageway. He pulls the rope and soon after the door opens. He goes inside and sees the hidden room. He is confused. He returns and finds out on the internet that the basement's area can be noted separately from the listing's total area. He is happy to assume that his house value may increase when selling. So he goes to the basement again and tries to measure the secret passageway in the hidden room. Then he finds the hidden underground tunnel. He also measures the tunnel by going down. He notices that the tunnel never stops. He doesn't stop and think for a second about any danger because of his greed. So he continues measuring and goes deep inside the tunnel. Then he hears a voice in the distance. He follows and sees a room where an old TV is playing. On the TV, a tutorial-type video about breastfeeding is playing. Then someone pulls the tape AJ is holding in his hand. He gets so scared. He points the torch in that direction and takes the knife in the other hand. He sees the naked deformed woman. He runs through the tunnel, but he gets lost on his way to the basement. Suddenly he falls into a hole and the naked woman locks him there. Then AJ sees Tess in the same hole and she keeps his mouth closed from screaming. Then the scene changes and it takes us to the flashback to 1980. We see the same house. The houses in the neighborhood are also in very good condition. A man named Frank comes from that house and we get to know that he is the original owner of that house. He drives his car to a shopping mall and he buys some goods like plastic sheets, diapers, etc. for the delivery of a baby. The employee of the mall asks him which hospital he's taking his wife for the birth. Then Frank says he will do it by himself in his home. After taking all the things, he sits in his car. Then he sees a woman in the distance and he follows her. She stops at her house and goes inside. He looks creepy. Frank wears a plumber suit and goes to the woman's house. He says to the woman that some outages have happened in the neighborhood and he wants to check her house if everything is okay. The woman lets him in. He goes to the bathroom. He turns on the water tap and locks the window. Then he leaves the house. After that, Frank comes to his house. His neighbor tells him that the neighborhood will be on sale from the next day and they have to move from that place. Then Frank says he will not go anywhere. Then he takes the baby's stuff and goes to the basement of his home. Then we hear a woman scream in the distance from fear at seeing Frank coming to the basement. The scene changes to the present again and we see Tess and AJ in the hole. Tess tells AJ not to freak out around the naked deformed woman. Because the woman thinks that Tess and AJ are her children. So Tess tells AJ to behave like a child of the woman. In the movie, the woman is credited as the mother. So we will call her the mother moving forward. The mother comes there and gives them a baby milk feeding bottle. Tess drinks the milk from the bottle and tells AJ to do the same. But AJ refuses to drink. The mother gets upset and angry and drags AJ out of the hole and takes him to the same room where the TV playing the breastfeeding tutorial. The mother forcefully breastfeeds AJ in the room. At that time, Tess gets the chance to escape from the hole and she runs. But the mother sees her escaping and chases Tess. Hopefully, Tess gets out of the tunnel and comes to the basement. She breaks the basement window and tries to come out. The mother is almost about to drag her from behind. Then the man we see earlier comes there and helps Tess to get out from the basement. Then the mother goes inside again. The man's name is Andre. Tess tells Andre that AJ is inside the house. But Andre tells her to forget about him and save herself. Because someone is more dangerous than the mother who lives in that house. Andre tells Tess that he lives in a safe place and he wants Tess to come there. He also says that the mother comes out every night and she comes to find Tess in that night as well. So Tess should get out of that place soon before the night. Inside, AJ also gets the opportunity to escape when the mother runs after Tess. AJ tries to get out of the tunnel. Then he sees a bell hanging on the wall and attached to the bell is a long rope. He follows the rope. Then he hears the mother's voice in the distance. He runs, then he sees a room in front of him. Behind him, he sees the mother slowly coming to him. But then she stops there to see the room. AJ opens the door and enters into the room. The room is very dark and messy, filled with all kinds of trash. Then a man coughs. AJ points the light to him. He sees an old man sleeping in a bed. He is none other than Frank. He is sick and bedridden. It seems like he has been living there since his neighborhood moved from that place, but he's not gone. He made the secret tunnel to live. On the other hand, Tess walks around the neighborhood and sees a gas station. She goes to the station and asks a man if she can use his phone to talk. She calls the police and sometimes later, the police come. She explains everything to the police. But the police think by looking at her appearance that she may be homeless or a drug addict. The police ask for her ID. But Tess says she doesn't have an ID with her. So they don't believe and take her words seriously and leave. In the room, AJ thinks that Frank is also a victim of the mother. So AJ tells Frank that he will get out of there and calls the police and save Frank. Then Frank gets worried like he's done something wrong. He points his finger to a table. AJ doesn't understand what he's looking for. So AJ brings the table near Frank. Frank gets up slowly, opens a drawer, and looks for something. Then AJ finds many videotapes on a rack labeled with women's names. He plays a tape and what he sees is shocking. He sees Frank rapping a woman. So basically Frank is a bad guy who kidnapped women, then he raped them and their children as well. He used to record that with a camera. Then he maybe kept locking and killing them in the tunnel. The hidden room, the hole, and the cages we saw earlier indicate that. Seeing all these, AJ asks what's wrong with Frank. Then Frank takes a gun from the drawer and shoots himself before the police find his crimes. Helpless Tess goes inside the house to take her car's key. The night falls. She sits in the car, starts the engine and points the car in the direction of the house, and waits for the mother to get out of the house. Then suddenly the mother comes out of the house and runs to her. Then Tess hits the mother with her car. Tess drags her with the hood of the car and hits the car at speed to the wall of the house. The mother gets injured and becomes unconscious. On the other hand, AJ takes the gun of Frank and goes out of the room. Tess also goes to the tunnel again to save AJ. In the tunnel, AJ accidentally shoots Tess thinking she's the mother. Tess gets injured. AJ realizes that's Tess and he takes her out of the tunnel. Finally, they get out of the house. Then Tess notices that the mother is not outside with her accident car. AJ realizes he leaves his car's key inside and doesn't want to go inside the house again. Then Tess says she knows a safe place where they can go. They go to Andre's place. He's been living safely near a water tower for 15 years. Andre explains that the mother is a crazy lady living in that tunnel for 40 years. She was born there and she is the daughter of Frank. AJ wants to take Tess for help because she's hurt, but Andre advises them to stay in his place for the night and they can escape in the morning. Then suddenly the mother crashes the wall and attacks Andre. She breaks Andre's hand and kills Andre violently. AJ and Tess run from there and go up to the water tower. The mother also chases them and goes up to the tower. Tess reminds AJ about the gun in his pocket. AJ takes out the gun carelessly and unfortunately, he drops the gun to the ground. The mother gets up to the top. AJ realizes that now they cannot go anywhere. He thinks to save himself. He tricks the mother by pushing Tess from the top of the tower to the ground. Soon after, the mother also jumps to save Tess thinking as her child. AJ sees from the top of the tower that the mother shields Tess from falling to the ground and both become unconscious. AJ comes down to see them. He grabs the gun from the ground. Then Tess becomes conscious. AJ realizes Tess is still alive, so he tries to convey his fake innocence by saying he hasn't pushed Tess intentionally and he will save her. Then suddenly the mother wakes up and she grabs AJ's neck and hangs him in the air. He chokes with pain and the mother also kills him violently. Then the mother sees Tess is hurt, so the mother tries to comfort Tess and wants to take her to the tunnel. The mother shows love and affection to Tess as every mother does. Tess takes the gun from the ground and points the gun to the mother. Tess feels guilty and sorry for the mother. The mother tries to lift her, but then Tess shoots her even though she doesn't want to. Because Tess doesn't want the mother to bear the pain and live that life anymore, and Tess wants to make her free from her life. The mother dies and Tess leaves her lying on the ground. After that, Tess walks away from there in pain and injured. The movie ends here. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this. You can also support me by watching this video next, shown on your screen. I will see you there. Bye.